Hello students, this presentation is for students who are in English 7. The presentation is being created for students who have English 7 with Mr. Washington and for students who have English 7 in Teen Talk classes with Mr. Washington and with Mrs. Maylum. The primary use for this is to help those students who are either not in class due to absence or for some reason were not able to finish with their notes in class. What you're going to need, in addition to having internet access, obviously, and access to a computer, is a Cornell notes sheet. This Cornell note sheet was distributed in class on September 19, 2013. If you don't have this sheet and you have access to the internet and a printer, it can be found on Blackboard under the date that it was distributed in class, which again was September 19, 2013. If you're not able to print it out, you'll want to speak to either Mr. Washington or Mrs. Maylum so that you can get a copy of the Cornell notes sheet from them. Now, if you're not familiar with the Cornell note sheet, it's something that is designed to give you two different columns with two pieces of information. On the left-hand side are topics and or questions related to your notes, and on the right-hand side are the notes themselves. It's designed so that you can fold the paper in half so that only part of it will be visible, making it possible for you to study and quiz yourself. At the top of the paper, there is a spot for a heading first. There's a spot for name, class, period, and date. Your name should consist of a first and last name. It's important that you have your name at the top of the paper. In the event that the paper becomes separated from your binder, it can be easily returned. There's a spot for your class, which in this case would be English 7. There's a spot for the period. Here's where you would put the period that you are in the class. For most of you, it's going to be either period 1, period 5, or period 7. And there's a spot for the date. You can put today's date, the date you are writing right now, or you can put the date that the notes were originally started in class, which again was September 19th, 2013. At the top, there's also a spot for a topic. This is what the notes are about, and it's important that you have the topic at the top of the page so that you can refer back to it later and find it easily, particularly if you have quizzes or tests and you're informed that you need to study a specific set of notes. You want to be able to find them. In this case, the topic is on the screen. Subjects, predicates, and fragments. So you want to write that right at the top, just to the left of where you wrote your name. Now this presentation is going to go possibly a little fast for you. So depending on what you're doing as you're writing, you may want to pause or rewind if there's something that you miss or if the presentation seems to be going too fast. If you feel like you're confident in what you're doing with it, then you can fast forward the presentation so that you can get to other parts of it and make sure that you have all parts of your Cornell notes filled in, because again, you are going to need these to study for when you have an assessment on subjects, predicates, and fragments. Now at the top of your Cornell note sheet, there's also a spot for the essential question. All Cornell note sheets have this spot because it's important for you to know what it is that you're going to be talking about and what it is that you're going to be learning. By the end of this presentation, you should be able to answer the essential question. The essential question for this exercise: what are the parts of a sentence and how can you tell them apart? So you should write this at the top of your Cornell notes sheet right now. Now, your Cornell note sheet has two parts. On the right side is where all of the notes would go, and on the left-hand side is where you would put any additional information, topics, and things that are related to what it is that you're doing. On the Cornell note sheet for this presentation, the topic that we're beginning with is on the right. That is subjects and predicates. On the right-hand side, there is somewhere that you can write down the information that's about to follow. That information says that every sentence has two parts, a subject part and a predicate part. You'll notice that the keywords are in a different color. These are words that you might want to underline or highlight to indicate that they are something important. What we're going to do is we're going to start by defining subject and predicate. The subject is defined as the part of the sentence that tells who or what the sentence is about. The predicate of a sentence is the part of the sentence that tells what the subject does or what the subject has. Every sentence has a subject and a predicate. If it does not have both of these, it is not a sentence. Now that we have an idea of what a subject and a predicate are, let's see them in action by taking a look at some examples. Now on your Cornell note sheet, there is a spot for two sentences and there are some grayed boxes underneath them. You're going to fill that information in with what is displayed on the screen in the next few minutes. That sound means that you're going to be looking at an example sentence. The first example sentence we'll be looking at to identify subject and predicate is this sentence. The students went to lunch. Now, in order to find the subject of the sentence, we need to figure out, first of all, who or what the sentence is talking about. Then we need to figure out what it is that that subject is doing. Okay, so let's identify the subject of this sentence and the predicate of this sentence. The subject is students, or more specifically, the students. So this is the subject part of the sentence. This is who or what the sentence is talking about. The predicate is pretty much everything other than the subject. So in this case, we're talking about what the students did. They went to lunch. So this is the predicate part of the sentence. Subject part, predicate part. Let's take a look at another example. That sound means we're looking at another example sentence. In this sentence, it says, our car broke down on the way there. So, the first thing we have to ask ourselves, who or what is this sentence about? It looks like this sentence is talking about the car, more specifically, our car. So, that would be our subject. The remainder of the sentence, everything else, would be the predicate. So, broke down on the way there would be the predicate. Again, subject, our car. Broke down on the way there, everything else is the predicate. So we said a few moments ago that in order for a sentence to be a sentence, it must consist of both a predicate and a subject. If it doesn't have both of those things, then what do you have? Well, if a sentence is missing either a subject or a predicate, it is not a complete sentence. In this case, it's called a sentence fragment. So now we're going to define a sentence fragment. And again, this is right on your Cornell notes so that you can write it near the bottom. A sentence fragment is a group of words that does not express a complete thought. Fragments are often missing a subject, a predicate, or they're missing both a subject and predicate. Example time. If we wanted to look at a sentence that did not have a predicate, we could look at the sentence lush forest. Now this isn't a sentence because it doesn't tell us what the lush forest does. It doesn't tell us anything about the lush forest. If we want to see something without a subject, we might look at something like this. Has many trees. Again, this isn't a sentence because it doesn't tell us what has many trees. Now, if we were to combine the two of these together, however, if we were to say the lush forest has many trees, now we have a sentence that consists of both a subject and a predicate. You'll also notice that in most cases in the English language, sentences begin with the subject and the predicate comes after. That's not always true, as with many things in the English language. There are no absolutes, but most of the time in a simple sentence, the subject comes first and it is followed by the predicate. Okay, let's talk about complete subjects and complete predicates. The subject and predicate of a sentence can consist of more than one word. When that happens, we give it a special designation. A complete subject. Now this includes all of the words in the subject part of a sentence. We also have a complete predicate. This includes all of the words that are in the predicate part of the sentence. And again, the complete predicate is going to consist of everything that's not in the complete subject. So when we're looking for complete subject and complete predicates, all of the sentence is going to fit into one of those two categories. Usually the beginning of the sentence will be the complete subject, the end would be the complete predicate. Example time again. We have the sentence, all people change their environment. Now in this sentence, we have to find the complete subject and the complete predicate. So we're going to make a simple note that's going to make an easy way for you to find the difference between the complete subject and the complete predicate. It says on your Cornell notes, and you will have to do some filling in the blanks here, to find the complete predicate, you need to ask yourself, what is the action of the sentence? The action is going to be a verb, but if you're not 100% sure on what a verb is, it's the action that is happening in the sentence. What you're going to do to find the complete subject is you're going to place a line directly in front of that verb. Everything that comes before the line is the complete subject. Everything that comes after, including the verb, is the complete predicate. So let's take a look at some examples. In this first sentence, all people change their environment, we have to find the verb. So which word is the verb? Which word is the word where something is performing an action? Is it environment? Well, environment's not an action. It's not something that you can do. Is it people? Well, people isn't really a verb. The word people technically could be a verb, but it isn't being used as a verb in this sentence. So, well, if you take a look at the word change, that probably is going to be our action. That is our verb. So, what do? We found the verb. Now we're going to place a line directly in front of that verb. Now, this line separates the complete subject and the complete predicate. The complete subject comes in front. The complete predicate comes in the back. We can also designate the difference between complete subject and complete predicate by indicating how they're different. Notice that we've underlined the word all people, or the words all people, because that's the complete subject. We can use a circle around change their environment to show the difference between this part of the sentence and that part of the sentence. The complete subject is underlined, the complete predicate is circled. It's best to do this because that way, if you don't have a highlighting tool, it's easy for you to look at what the difference is, and if you're doing an assignment, it's also easy for you to show your teacher that you're doing that as well. Want to take a look at another example? Here's another example. In this example, we've got a slightly longer sentence, but we're going to do the same thing. The sentence says, acid rain kills some animals and fish. So we need to find the verb, the action. What is being performed in this sentence? Is it animals? Well, animals isn't a verb. It's not something that you can do. Is it some? Well, again, it's very hard to sum. That's not an action that you can perform. What about the word kills? Is that a verb? That is a verb. In this case, kills is the main action in this sentence. So again, based on our note, we're going to place a line directly in front of that verb. So in front of kills, we place a line, sort of like that. And then we have the complete subject, which comes in front. We can then underline that to show that that is the complete subject. All the words that are underlined are part of the complete subject. Then whatever's left is the complete predicate. Now what we'll do with this is we're going to circle it to show that it is different from the complete subject. One more example. This sentence is, again, a little bit longer. The sentence says, "The ugly duckling cried himself to sleep." We have to find the action in this sentence. Is it ugly? Well, ugly isn't an action. It's not something that you can do. What about himself? Well, himself is talking about a specific person, or in this case, a duck, so can't be an action. Maybe the word cried? Cried is our action in this sentence. So again, we go down, it says, place a line directly in front of that verb. The line goes in front of the word cried, like so. Now we've separated the complete subject from the complete predicate. What comes in the front is the complete subject. We can underline this to show how it is different from the complete predicate, which we are going to circle. Complete subject, complete predicate. So the final section of your Cornell notes is called the Summary, Analysis, and Reflection section. It comes at the very end of your Cornell notes. So on the sheet that you would be writing on, it would be at the very bottom of the second page, and it would look something like this. Now what you will want to do here is you will want to either reflect upon what you just learned, analyze it, or summarize it. And the easiest way of handling this is to summarize. So what are we going to do with what we just read, and how are we going to summarize that? Let's take a look. What I want you to do on your paper is I want you to write a summary that explains what you know about the topic that we just discussed, which of course would be subjects, predicates, and fragments. A summary is just the most important details and information from whatever it is that you were discussing. It's usually a shorter way of expressing what you have just read. To summarize this part, we want to look back to the very beginning. One way to summarize is to answer the essential question. In this case, the essential question was, what are the parts of a sentence and how can you tell them apart? So to summarize, all you do is answer that question on the lines at the bottom of your Cornell notes. So once you are done with your notes, take a few seconds to think back to what you've learned, review what you've written, and then write a brief summary at the end of your Cornell notes. That's all we have to say about subjects and predicates. Good luck on any upcoming assessments.